And we're ready for game one of match one. Grandmaster Joel Benjamin with the white pieces and Grandmaster Larry Christiansen with the black pieces. Well, the referee, Carol Jarecki, is set to start the clocks. And as she does so, the players seem intense, they seem ready, and the game is about to begin. Now, Joel Benjamin, the players have shaken hands, and Joel Benjamin has played the move E4. Larry Christiansen sitting for a moment thinking about his response. Christiansen is known to play many different openings, and he's got to wonder what he should play against this friend of his. They've known each other for many, many years, and he's played C5 to initiate a Sicilian defense, and now knight to F3 has been played. Again, Christiansen being careful in the beginning. He's played knight to C6, and because the players know each other so well, knight to C3 has been played by Benjamin. They really have to jockey for position early on, and now the move G6 has been played, fianchettoing the bishop, and Joel Benjamin has jumped to the center with the move D4. A capture has been made, and knight takes D4, and now bishop to G7, attacking the knight. Bishop to E3, and they are in a Sicilian defense. Knight to F6 has been played. Players getting their pieces out. No issues with the clock so far. And now an aggressive move, bishop to C4 by Benjamin, and queen to A5. Christiansen, a past connoisseur of this position, playing very aggressively. Are these two players already whipping out their moves? You see Christiansen with 9:24 left on his clock. Benjamin ticking down now at 9:26 and counting. This is a very, very sharp position, the details of which you better know, and it looks as if Benjamin is stumped already, trying to figure out what his next move should be. That move, queen A5, I've seen Larry Christiansen play this many times before, and he looks very comfortable, very relaxed. And now the time is starting to tick. You got to pay attention to that clock, because the clock will tick down, and in speed chess, in this kind of competition, the clock really is everything. Benjamin now has castled, and so has Christiansen, and keeping his slight edge on the clock. Now, this position, there are not too many threats, with the bishop dropping back to B3, keeping that position secure for Joel. And now it's up to Larry to figure out what he should do. And he's playing very solidly with the move D6, getting ready to get his bishop out. And now H3, preventing any piece from coming in on that G4 square, because knight G4 was a threat after the last move. Christiansen now developing again slowly. We're just in the opening stages, bishop to D7, and the rooks have been connected, and in a couple of moves we'll see those rooks come into action. But now Joel has played the move F4, expanding with space on that right side of the board, controlling some key squares. That's a nice little move, very aggressive, laying his intentions that he wants to play for space on that side, potentially attack on that side, maybe even bring his queen over to F3. And now Christiansen offering an exchange of queens with queen to H5. This is interesting, going into an ending, trying to blunt the spatial advantage that Benjamin might have with all those pawns in the middle. Queen to H5, that move is going to stop Benjamin for a little bit. Now, before this competition began, Christiansen said that when his brain starts working, that's when he's unstoppable. And if he gets going in this game, then you can expect a lot of hurt on the white forces. Joel, though, on the other hand, being very, very calm, making sure that nothing bad happens, no tricks. Larry is known for tricks, for attacks on the king side. And right now, the black forces, especially with that queen shifting over to that right half of the board, that king side of the board, looks like he might be thinking about some sacrifices, maybe some aggressive intentions on that side. So Joel's going to have to be a little bit careful, and he's ignoring the threat. Actually, he's dropped back, knight to F3, dropping the knight back and preventing any exchange of queens. And now Christiansen pulling a rook to the C file, rook to C8, rook from A to C8, putting in the rook on a very nice square. So Benjamin's going to have to find a plan. And if you look at it now, he's actually down a minute on the clock right now. Down a minute on the clock. He has to figure out how to make sure that he figures out a plan soon and not lose on time, because time is the whole game. In chess, in this kind of chess, time is everything. Speed chess, SuperBlitz, we're calling it. This dictates everything. Now, Benjamin hovering over his queen momentarily, and now he's played the move queen to E2, a nice solid move, also connecting rooks. And It's up to Christiansen now to figure out a plan. Benjamin has great control over the forces, and the move b5 has been played. A big shot in this position by Christiansen, offering the pawn on b5, but the pawn on e4 would be unprotected if that pawn on b5, which is now attacked by the knight on c3 and the queen on e2, if it's captured, then the center pawn on e4 would be snapped off the board by the black knight. So this is a nice shot by Christiansen, and he's sitting back looking very comfortable, as Benjamin now looks like he might be a little bit on the ropes. That move is a shocker. b5 being very aggressive and threatening to push it forward one more square to b4, and Benjamin has dropped back bishop to f2, so that now his queen is defending the pawn on e4. A very simple move, very solid, bringing the bishop back, so his queen now defends that pawn in front. Now b4 can be answered by a move like knight to d5. So Benjamin, for the moment, staving off any dangers, but he's down on the clock with 6:39 left, and Christiansen with 8 minutes plus, and Christiansen has to figure out what he will do now. That last move, bishop f2, very solid. Benjamin is known as a great defender. He gets in trouble, he starts to defend very, very well, and he can do it quickly. And it looks as if that last move, very solid, bishop f2, has protected his pawn on e4, and Larry must have gotten very excited when he played a move like b5, a great, sharp move. But with that nice backup, bishop to f2, Benjamin has blocked the aggressive intentions, and now Larry has to figure out what he wants to do next. And he's sitting there thinking on it, his time advantage in the meantime evaporating slowly, and now he has played b4, attacking that knight. And one would expect to move knight to d5, and it has happened. Knight to d5, centralizing that knight, a great piece in the middle of the board, attacking in multiple directions. You might want to trade off that knight, but knight takes knight is answered by pawn takes, and then the e7 pawn would be under attack from the white queen. So Christiansen has to defend carefully now, as Benjamin is eyeing all sorts of different possibilities, and he has surprisingly, to my eyes, captured the knight on d5, and it looks as if pawn takes is in the air. Pawn takes would definitely attack the pawn on e7, of an unexpected move, and it has happened. Pawn takes, and now knight to a5, attacking the bishop. It looks as if the pawn on e7 is just hanging. The queen can go all the way down and rip that pawn off. On the other side, of course, there are some things hanging for white. The pawn on b2, if you look at that bishop on g7 in front of the king, it's laser-like glance at the b2 pawn. And also, after the knight takes the bishop on b3, black will be able to snap off the pawn on d5. But right now, the question still has to be, what about queen takes e7? Well, it turns out queen takes e7 may be the move, and it has happened. Queen takes e7, attacking a bishop. There is a move here, bishop takes h3. That's a surprising shot Christiansen could play. Bishop takes h3, snapping off that pawn near the king. That's an interesting shot. And it has happened. Bishop captures h3, a vicious move, attacking near the king, and now the board is aflame. Bishop takes h3. If pawn takes, queen takes knight on f3, and it's just all wild right now. I've got to get my bearings on this one because the position is crazy. In the meantime, we look at the clock. Benjamin must have been stunned by that last move, because now he's played the move knight to g5, a quick response. I got to say, it took a lot of heart to find that move that quickly. Knight to g5, attacking that bishop on the h3 square, and maybe there's a sacrifice on g2. I'm not sure about that move, or it looks like the bishop on h3 might have to back up in this situation. The bishop on h3 is under attack from the white knight. In the meantime, white is attacking multiple pawns in black's position. The pawn on d6 is under attack. The pawn on a7 is under attack, and it looks as if white has dealt with that last blow in an interesting way. White with 5:29 left on the clock. Black now ticking down to below 6 minutes.